I truly believe hardship make a character stronger. And the hardship that you learned to survive. And you always learned that, how to be a human, how to really treat other people with respect. Cultural revolution that in my very early childhood, it's really upside down. It's just turning the whole society, turning the family, turning the people, the children against parents, that friends against friends, and neighbor against neighbor. So it's not just a revolution, it's really evil to turn people become animals. So that's something that I remember in my very early childhood. My father was very high in government position. And of course, it's exactly this privileged class was under really brutal punishment during the Mao's Cultural Revolution. My father was thrown to jail in a solitary confinement for almost 7 to 8 years until the 9th year released him to a labor camp. And my mother was sent to the labor camp from a princess and suddenly become a nobody. Like a garbage, that everyone can, spit at me and curse at me or hit at me. I miss my parents. I rely heavily on my brother. And when my brother was sent down to the countryside, they have to take me because living in Beijing was entirely impossible. We had no money. We had to beg for food. I was starving. It's about 7 days. I was laying in bed without any food, just drinking water. We never really know how peasants live. And that is, being down in the countryside, being so close to the peasants. First of all, they are very nice to me. And they may not have a knowledge. They may not read many books. They may not really be as sophisticated as all the intellectuals during the Mao's Cultural Revolution. But they are very down to earth. They are people. They are human. And they treat us like their own children. So that's, for us to learn that China, as a socialist country, and actually is absolutely divided, city and the country. I come back to college when the Cultural Revolution ended with the arrest of a gang of 4, ended with the death of Mao Zedong, and many the former cadres like my father all came back to work. And they tried to rebuild China with such enthusiasm. And that made me question. I say, I asked my dad, I say, aren't you bitter? Aren't you regret of you joined the revolution, of served the party? And why are you that not saying any word and then just work? And he said, first and foremost, I'm a Chinese. I'm a patriot. I want, rebuild China. And I think that I never lost the hope of China. Otherwise, I would probably killed myself, in the jail. I was in an early group of the Chinese young people went to U.S. to study. and I studied at Columbia, and so I learned so much that in my years I took many courses, and I spent the time in the library, and all the books forbidden in China I never had a chance to read, and then suddenly everything's opened up to me. In 1989, I was then as advisor to ITN Channel 4 News and shooting a documentary for the Gorbachev's first visit to China. We visited many places, and the day we came back to Beijing, staying at a Beijing hotel, that is April 15th. And at night, I saw that massive people walking with a race to Tiananmen Square. And I told my journalist mentor and my reporter, Nick Gowing, let's stay here, not go back of post-production, because I say this is something is happening. And indeed, from April 15th, I stayed until June 22nd. I stationed at the Tiananmen Square with all the students. So, I basically have gone through the entire hunger strike, everything that you name it, that the whole thing until the June 3rd and June 4th. That when the crackdown started. Everyone started questioning that, will that, be going back again? We would just talk about the no U-turn. And suddenly, is that a U-turn? The democracy we have in today's China was completely beyond anybody's imagination in Mao's time. And China is far more open than most can imagine, and far more developed than anyone can imagine that back 40 years ago. So that thing is not to push the change go backward, but to help push the change go forward. What we hope is China continue to open the door and the world continue open the door to China, to Chinese. A chaos, a turmoil China will not do anybody good. China cannot live from the world, and neither does world can live without China. So let's hope this way, and we are learning from each other, and we will prosper together. As Confucius says, respect others, the others will respect you. And the humility will take goes miles longer than being a snob.